Thanks so much for being with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansson alongside Lance Gilman, CEO and president of, oh my goodness, Northern Alliance Financial with Cameron Graham, who is joining us as well. Guys, it's always so good to be with you.
Likewise, Brad. It's always great to be here in the studio with you.
Cameron, you enjoying the TV end of this whole thing?
It's good to be here.
Because you're rocking it inside the office, isn't he?
He is doing a great job.
Well,
absolutely so Cameron covers most of our like Bangor Brewer area, and then all places north. He's essentially a county boy.
Yep.
Born in Holton, right?
Yep. Born and raised, and servicing, like he said, Bangor Brewer all the way north to Fort Kent, very top of the state.
Well, I appreciate all that you're doing for so many people coming in and finding what, you know, Northern Alliance has been doing for people all across the state. And you're continuing to grow with new offices everywhere as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got about 10 offices now throughout the state.
10 offices now.
Just about 10, exactly. So we pretty much have looked at the serviceability. We don't want our clients to actually have to drive any more than like within an hour.
They're liking that.
So yeah, and a lot of people, they feel like an hour is no big deal anyway, especially people from the county. They don't, it's like an hour is like nothing to them.
Yeah, they're used to the drive.
They used to drive to go to Bangor or
I still try to get up that way a couple times a year to kind of hold in-person meetings with
people appreciate that as well.
So that it's not a...
Your family's still up there too,
and I'm
right?
up that way a ton, so it's really not a huge deal. That way they don't have to drive 3 hours to Bangor.
I love it. Exactly. Guys, I want to talk a little 401k, 403b stuff today, because people have been hearing about conversions, Roth conversions, saving my way. What do I have? What don't I have? How many around the state right now are involved in 401ks? Because there may be some who have not been involved in a 401k situation. Most of the people that you're seeing right now?
I would think most of the people that are coming into the office, Brad, have some form of 401k. Because typically, if somebody's coming into the office, they're going to be 55 to 62, somewhere in that sweet spot where they start
to say the sweet spot,
where they start thinking about they're like 3 to 5 years outside of retirement. So at some point in your career, you might have had a 401k at one point. Maybe you do now. But I would say greater than 60% do have 401k.
Is that the best way for people to be saving and moving into it? It changed all the way back in the 70s as we moved into the 401ks. Pensions moved out of that. Probably only about 15% of Americans right now still involved in a pension program. Are there people doing the right things, Cameron, with putting their money into a 401k, and should we start to think about something different from that? I leave that as a wide open question for you.
Yeah, I think for the most part, people are doing the best that they can to try to contribute up to that employer match, which is great because that is probably one of the bigger things to take advantage of is the employer match. Yeah. Because that's essentially free money.
Right.
That they're contributing to your account.
Yeah, so a lot of times what I'll say, Brad, is if somebody has a 401k, the first thing that we're going to want to look at is what is the employer match? And a lot of times they don't know. They don't know what the employer is like. I don't know what the employer match is. Well, how would you know? Well, typically what you would do is you would call your HR department, or you would call somebody that coordinates the plan administrator. If you have a small plan, sometimes it's just one person that does kind of everything in the office, and just say, do we have a match for our plan? And what is that match? Am I doing at least the minimum gate that I need to get that full match?
Okay.
Because if we're not, then as Cameron said, what are we doing? We're leaving free money on the table.
Okay.
That's not acceptable.
Yeah. Obviously, people are saying, okay, I'm not involved in one. Is there something else that I can do? Before I get to Roth, if I'm not involved in a 401k, is there something simple that I should be doing in a retirement account as I'm entering a sweet spot? Are there other ways for me to be saving going into it?
Well, I think that keep in mind that if you have a 401k plan, that's pretty much the easiest,
best,
simple. It comes right out of your paycheck. And typically with most plans, whether it's an IRA, a Roth, a 401k, a simple plan, you're going to have a certain limit that you can do per year. And they give you a catch-up provision when you're over 50.
Gotcha.
But let me just talk just numbers here and the specifics for this. If you're dealing with a traditional IRA, which is a way you could save outside of a 401k plan, the limits on that are $7,000 if you're under 50, or they give you an extra $1,000 per year if you're 50 or above. So you could save up to, let's say if you're over 50, you could save $8,000 per year, either in a Roth or a traditional IRA. However, with a 401k, it's almost triple, quadruple that amount. So if you're under 50, you can save $22,500. And if you're over 50, you can save another $7,500. So you could save $30,000, Brad. $30,000.
That's big.
In a 401k. And that's not even including the match, by the way.
All right. Let's
Right?
let's move into the contributions of options now that many companies have over the last several years added a Roth IRA to potential contributions. People will come into your office and say, what should I be doing? I have an option of a 401k that's traditional, and my company's given me an option of a Roth 401k. How do I invest my money with my company? Is there a simple answer, Cameron?
Well, I mean, I think it's always good to have a little bit of both, because with the pre-tax, that's coming right off of with the regular 401k, it's coming right off the top before you actually get your paycheck.
Yep.
Anything in the Roth IRA is going to happen after you already get paid. It's after tax. You're going to pay taxes on that before it goes into the Roth bucket. The big thing with the Roth bucket is that you'll never pay taxes on that again. Everything is tax-free. It grows tax-free. Earnings are everything. So it's always nice, I've found, to have kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Between.
Is there a
both
timing
accounts.
on this, Lance, depending on where I am entering that sweet spot as to how much I would be contributing to my Roth rather than to my traditional?
Well, I think that you have to think about the tax implications of what you're doing here, right? So if, as Cameron said, when you're contributing to a traditional 401, this is all pre-tax, right? So that's coming right out of your paycheck. You're not being taxed on those dollars at all. The match is going into that traditional. Okay, so what a lot of people will do is they don't even realize that the company has added a Roth component to the 401k, because many times companies do this and they don't tell their employees.
Right.
Or if they did it, it was on a memo that nobody's going to read. So it's like, okay, yeah, well, we sent that memo out 6 months ago and nobody knows. So that's another question that you could ask your employer and just say, do we have a Roth component with our 401k? Because here's what I typically recommend. Put as much into that Roth bucket as you possibly can without creating for yourself an undue tax burden. Okay, so if it's going to by doing so, if it's going to bump you into a new tax category, then no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to entertain that. However, how far could we go with that contribution and stay within the same tax bracket, putting as much money as we can into that tax never Roth bucket, which, by the way, is tax never for you, because you've already paid taxes on those contributions. Even the gains in that account are never taxed again for the rest of your life. And they actually transfer to your beneficiaries in that same tax never bucket. So it becomes a tax planning inheritance tool as well.
Does it sound confusing to you? It's confusing to many, which is why we at Northern Alliance Financial are here to answer the questions, to simplify things. All of that is contained here in Conquering Retirement book, the book that Lance has put together. A copy is free for you when you come in for a complimentary written plan to put together some of the answers to the questions that you've had for a long time that no one's been able to answer. 877-241-7430. To come in for that appointment, for the book, for the complimentary plan, to answer the questions and make your retirement as simple as possible. Make the call right now. We'll be right back.
Our Our team at Northern Alliance is very diverse in terms of the services that we offer.
We do take a team-based approach.
We carry multiple licenses so that clients can do everything within the Northern Alliance financial team.
If it has anything to do with retirement, that's what we specialize in.
Budget planning, tax considerations, social security strategies, risk management, long-term care, Medicare, health planning, as well as legal and estate planning.
We really are a one-stop shop.
There's Lance, Gilman, Peter Hansen, Jeremy Barnard, myself. We do have a staff that is great.
In Maine, we have multiple locations to cover the vast array of the state.
You know, you can come in and have a conversation in person. And a lot of people are looking for these days. Things after COVID have changed to more Zoom, phone call sort of things. And we'll do those things, but we appreciate and would rather have you come in person and have a conversation face to face like this.
We're pretty approachable, and we're going to listen to you. We're going to try to determine what your needs, your aspirations, those goals are, and then we're going to do everything that we possibly can to help you meet those goals.
It's lighthearted, it's carefree. We laugh like crazy. An atmosphere that I don't think is common in a lot of other practices.
We were talking about how well the team is bonding together, how similarly we all think in that what we do, we want to actually make a difference.
Average everyday people helping average everyday people.
You know, we truly do put the client first.
Our mantra has been, when you take care of people, people take care of you.
So glad you're with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansson, along with Lance Gilman and Cameron Graham, Northern Alliance Financial. We appreciate your time. We're talking a little bit about 401ks. Many of you have them. Many of you are now getting the option of Roth 401ks within that. We're trying to answer some of the questions on where you go. A lot of times 401ks are put together with company very specific plan, and maybe people don't know what their portfolio actually has in it and how risky it may be. How do you assess what's in that 401k, how risky it is, and whether or not I should be putting my money into this or adjusting it in some way?
Yeah, a lot of time, what we say is with a 401k, it's basically called a passive plan, passive investment plan. In other words, you decide which buckets, they give you certain buckets to choose from, usually somewhere between 10 to 16 different allocation choices.
Okay.
And you say, okay, I'm going to put some money here, here, and maybe some in this target date fund, and that's it. The money, the reason we call it passive is because the money is going to stay in those buckets no matter what's going on in the world. It could be total pandemonium with the markets, and the money's going to stay there.
Yeah.
Unless what? Unless the owner actually goes into the portal through the employer portal and makes changes or calls the custodian of the plan and says, get me out of there, I'm losing my shirt.
Yeah.
So that's a passive investment, right? So the money's going to stay there no matter what's going on. So a lot of times people really don't know how much risk they're taking in those passive investments. They could be way out here and nobody's adjusted that risk over time.
Because they're hoping that the company's paying attention to it, right?
Yeah, that's what they're hoping.
Yeah.
But what's the reality, Brad? They're not.
They're not.
Right. They're not. And so a lot of times people go into a company, let's say you've been in a company for 10, 15 years. Well, when you first, 20 years, right? Could be more. When you first got in there, when somebody came to you and said, well, how do you think you should structure these investments? What's the thing you said? Well, I want to gain as much as I possibly can. I'm young. My horizons are long.
Give me growth.
I want growth, right? Well, 25, 30 years later, guess what? They're still there.
Yeah.
So what we do is we actually have a portfolio x-ray that we will conduct that does a deep dive analysis into every single position. And it will show you basically whether you're low, medium, all the way to high levels of risk. And a lot of times people are amazed by that because they were thinking to themselves, I thought I was way back here. I'm way out here. I got to make some adjustments.
Okay. In making adjustments, and Cameron, I kind of want to talk about that because people hit this spot where they go, I guess I'm in it. This is where I'm at. This is what the company says. At 59.5, for a lot of companies, there are now the potential of in-service rollovers that may be able to make it move to a spot where you might be able to help them even a little bit more.
Yeah, so like Lance mentioned, where if it stays where it's at, it's in that kind of passive form. But at age 59.5 is kind of that time where they let you potentially move that over into a an IRA for which we could manage. Before that, you really can only change that unless you get fired or you change jobs. It pretty much has to stay under that employer roof. But at 59.5, they allow you to potentially move some of that money over into a managed IRA account where we can manage it in a tactive way.
And for a lot of people, it's something they didn't know about, right? That there may be another option.
No, they will absolutely not broadcast this, right? They will
why
not
would
tell
they?
you that you are eligible to move your funds over when you're 59.5. Just like when you thought that they were actually managing your account, somebody was actually looking over your stuff, they're not, right? You're doing that. So yeah, they don't broadcast that, Brad. They don't say, well, when you're 59.5, you have options that other people that aren't 59.5 don't have. In other words, you could take those funds out of that account, and instead of bearing the burden yourself of managing those funds, you're self-managing those funds in a passive portfolio, you could actually get them to a professional financial planner or a fiduciary financial planning team that can oversee and make sure that your funds are appropriately allocated for your risk level.
How about the Maine state retirement system? Is there something that exists there that we need to know about as a retirement savings plan?
Well, yes. The Maine state retirement system is an interesting animal.
He chooses his word very carefully.
So here's the great thing about if you are a Maine state employee and you have the Maine state retirement system, the Maine state retirement is quite robust. And a lot of people, when I tell them that, are like, are you crazy? No. Actually, if you think about it, the Maine state retirement planning compared to the federal system pays you 1% per year every year that you are vested. The Maine state retirement pays you double that. 2% for every 1 year vested. So let's say you've worked in a job for 25, 30 years as a teacher, and you're making $60,000, $70,000 a year as a teacher. Well, if you've worked for 30 years under that 2% rule, the day you retire, you're earning 60% of your paycheck, and you don't have to work anymore. So it's a powerful system. But in addition to that, they also have the capability to save. And they save basically outside of the Maine state retirement system. They have a plan that's set up essentially as a 403B that they can save in addition. That's if they have additional revenues to be able to do that.
It's asking the questions. A lot of the times, asking the questions to try and get the answers that no one has told you before. And maybe this is the time, as you are entering that sweet spot of retirement, of trying to figure out the answers to all of this, maybe trying to figure out what questions you're supposed to ask. They are all in here. Conquering Retirement, the book that Lance has put together. A copy of this is yours free as you set up an appointment with us to come in for a complimentary written plan that we will put together to answer some of those questions as you head into retirement and trying to figure out the best way for me to save and to make sure that my money will last into and through retirement. 877-241-7430 is the number to call. Come into the office. Let's put something together for you to make this your sweet spot. We'll be right back.
When interest rates are low, you may be able to refinance your home, your car, and even your credit cards. Yet, when interest rates go up, it may make sense to refinance your retirement. Higher interest rates could provide income opportunities you may not be aware of. What works for your portfolio during low interest rates may not work for you when your interest rates are high. Find out if a retirement refi could work for you. Call now to see if we can help refi your retirement.
Thanks so much for being with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansson alongside Lance and Cameron, Northern Alliance Financial. How about we answer some of your questions? We've been talking about how difficult some of them may be, and for a lot of you, you're a little apprehensive about asking the questions. So maybe somebody has one here for you guys. Cameron, I'm going to go to you first. John in Scarborough has one. He says, are there any other benefits to contributing to a traditional IRA besides the deductions? I don't qualify for deductions and would like to make a well-informed decision. I plan to retire at 67. That'll be in a few years for me. Give me an idea.
Yeah, what we would probably do is look at something what's called a Roth conversion, because for high income earners, they can't contribute directly to a Roth account. And like he said, he doesn't get the deduction on the IRA side. But what happens is if he contributes directly to the IRA, there's no income limits on converting that money to a Roth, and then we can take advantage of the tax-free aspect of it going forward.
So what we need to understand is contributions to Roths are different than conversions to Roths. There are no limits there.
Correct. Like contribution limits, we've talked a little bit about. You can contribute $7,000, $8,000 to a year. You can convert as much as you want.
All right. People need to know that.
We just want to make sure it's not going to put you in a different tax bracket with, that's a whole nother story though.
All right. Lance, I'm going to you. Jasmine and Palmyra.
Okay.
57. $125,000 in a brokerage account, about $225,000 in the market or in the 401k. Currently maxing out the amount of the employer's retirement plan. The market's volatile, she says. So I'm wondering if I should keep more in cash at this point.
It's a good question, and a lot of people do get a little bit anxious when the markets get volatile. It's just natural. The seas start to get a little rough and we want to bail out of here, right?
The fear is real.
The fear is real. But we do not base our investment choices on fear or anxiety or emotion, period. If you are maxing out your 401k, that means you are contributing deliberately and consecutively over a period of time. Here's what's going to happen when you do that. It's something called dollar cost averaging. When the markets go up, you're going to buy less shares. When the markets go down, you're going to buy more shares. And what happens with all that volatility is it gets leveled out, okay? And that volatility basically erases. So I would absolutely not want you to continue putting more money in cash, but continue doing what you're doing. Slow and steady wins the race.
All right, fair enough. Cameron, I'll go back to you with Sylvia in Troy. Sylvia's 63. Concerned that I'm not diversified enough, she says. I have both international and domestic stocks, but at the moment, that's all I have. So should I be looking into real estate investments? Should I be looking into precious metals? She says, I appreciate the show. We appreciate you, Sylvia. What do you have to say, Cameron?
What I would say is give us a call, come in, we'll look at the x-ray report like we had mentioned a little earlier. What that's going to do is it's going to break down the whole portfolio that you have. It's going to show risk. Are we taking unnecessary risks? What do our holdings look like? What's our allocation look like? Large cap, mid cap, small cap, international. What does all of that look like? And then we'll kind of formulate a plan to see if we need to make some adjustments within that allocation.
Is this probably a common question, Lance, that a lot of people are worried about their diversification at this point?
Well, not necessarily a common question about the diversification, but a lot of people actually ask about precious metals. It's just, especially as things get volatile, people get anxious.
Give me gold.
Yeah, well, that's what they start to think about. And because it's the fear factor that we talked about a little bit earlier, is that people actually respond to fear, probably more so than any other emotion, I think. And we don't want to make fear our driving force about our choices. Now, is having a certain amount of precious metals a bad thing? No, absolutely. But the problem with precious metals that I have found is that, number one, we need a prospector to buy the precious metals. Then we need somebody that's going to agree to hold it as a custodian. And then we need somebody to guard it, right?
That's a lot of people
and it's
already.
a lot of people and it's a lot of money. And so what happens over time is it starts to erode the value of those precious metals.
Okay, good question. I'm going to go to Jackson in Newport, who says, my business has a simple IRA for employees who desire to take part. We have not, however, heard from the advisor in over a year. So I'm fairly old school. I prefer doing business in person. The account is now at $750,000, says Jackson. Is it time to find a new advisor? Now, this is a question that probably a lot of people should be asking. Is it time for a second opinion? Is it ever a bad time for a second opinion? The answer to that is no. So, in specific to this question, Lance.
Yeah, I think, Jackson, honestly, I think you've answered your own question. Right? Just by asking the question, you're fed up with what the serviceability of your current employer plan. If you're the owner, then yes, I would encourage you to come and talk to us. We don't just manage portfolios, as Brad mentioned in this book, Conquering Retirement. We do comprehensive levels of planning for all of our clients. And servicing our clients as a fiduciary means that we have the best interest of the client, not only in what we do in a portfolio, but in all of the recommendations that we make for all aspects of your retirement plan.
This is so important, Cameron, and I know as you're entering this business and dealing with it, a holistic, independent financial advisor that is fiduciary is so different than so many of these other people that they've been dealing with. Why is it so important to have all of that in an advisor?
Because everybody's different. You know, we're looking out for your best interests. Everybody has different wants, needs, goals, everybody. So us being able to put your best interests first and kind of look out for that and formulate a plan tailored specifically to you.
Obviously, what we've done now is moved into an environment where people have felt so polarized for such a long time. Finding an advisor that says it doesn't matter where you sit on a lot of these different issues, what we're doing is looking out for your best interest at heart to try and get you to the finish line in the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Each person, as Cameron mentioned, is different, and your goals are different, your budgets are different, your income sources are different. And that's actually what makes this particular profession so exciting, because we get to help people every day go from working full time to basically taking all those earnings and all of that savings together to work for you for the rest of your life.
Can't wait to see you in the office. Give us a call, 877-241-7430. As always, we're so grateful that you spend your time with us. Can't wait to meet you and make your retirement great. We'll see you next time.